Hello, 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 and welcome. Today we are talking with Lynda. This is her talk show. My name is Sabrina Victoria. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to be talking all about the importance of doing it because you're scared. We actually talked about something similar to this on our sales call this morning with my community. So I'm super excited to dive into this. For those of you listening live and already jumping on, thank you for being here. Those of you that are watching on the replay, make sure you hashtag replay wherever you're at so we can send you some love. I want you to get comfortable as we start to explore the triumphs and the challenges faced by women worldwide. We're going to be offering insights. We're going to be offering inspiration to fuel you, not only personally, but also professionally. Let's jump in.
Get ready, because today's guest is about to change the way you view your world. This is Her Talk Show, hosted by Sabrina Victoria.
All right, we are here every day. We delve deep into the realms of health, wealth, and leadership with some of the most brilliant women globally. We have interviewed over 600 women, and today we are adding another one to the list. We have Lynda Sunshine West. What a name. She ran away at 5 years old and was gone a week. She came home riddled with fears and became a people pleaser. At 51, she decided to break through one fear every day for a year. Girl, yes. Lynda Sunshine West is the founder and CEO of Action Takers Publishing. She's a speaker, 38 times #1 international bestselling author, senior executive writer at Brainz Magazine, and executive film producer. Welcome, lady.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here to talk about my favorite topic, which is breaking through fears.
Yes, I love this story. Oh my gosh. Do you vividly remember this?
The year of breaking through fears?
No, the year of being 5 years old and running away.
Well, I don't remember all of it. I remember bits and pieces. I blocked out a lot of my childhood. It was a very volatile, abusive environment that I was living in. And I guess my coping mechanism was, block it out. So I don't remember. But yeah, I ran away. It was gone for a week. And how I remembered it mostly was my mom reminding me. And she's like, you were gone for a week. And I called the neighbors up and I said, she's been gone long enough. You can send her home now. So I was just at the neighbor's house. So I was in a safe environment, but for me, I was running away and I was going to be gone forever. It was because my mom brought me home is why I went back home.
Wow. Wait, I vaguely remember this. Didn't you say something to the effect of there was some trauma, obviously trauma, but because they didn't come looking for you. Talk about that.
Yeah. So, as a child, we don't see the whole picture, right? So as a 5-year-old, when I ran away and nobody came to get me, my mom, my siblings, my dad, nobody came to get me. I had this thought within me that they didn't come to get me because they don't love me and they don't want me around. Yeah. So this is the story that I created for myself all those decades, after that. And the reality was that my mom did know where I was. I just didn't know she knew where I was. So I created this whole story around it. And that was how I lived my life. And it's interesting because as I think about my life now, the difference is that, after I ran away, I came home, I become a people pleaser. I am riddled with fears. I literally did not look at people in the eyes for 46 years. I had so much fear about people.
When did you become aware of that?
51.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it wasn't
you
until
didn't recognize that you were having that issue, really.
I didn't know it was an issue. I was like, this is just who I was. I would walk around. I'm what they call a counter. A counter is somebody who counts steps, they count things. And so what I did is I would walk around and I would look at the ground and I would count my steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's all that was really on my mind for many, many years. And let's say I was talking to you in a conversation in real life and our eyes met, I would immediately look away. I do remember, like, I remember immediately like, being just terrified that my eyes met somebody else's eyes and I look away.
Wow, that is so interesting. So what happened at 51? By the way, 51, you don't even look 50.
Oh, thank you.
So let's put that on the table first. I read that.
Thank
I'm
you.
like, wait a minute. She mean 41? What's going on here?
Thank
So
you.
51, what happened?
Yeah, so 51, I was driving to work. I was stuck in traffic like I had been stuck in for 36 years. I was on my 49th job. I was working for a judge in the Court of Appeals. And
How
as I
many
was driving, 49 jobs in 36 years. 49.
times?
Yeah.
Okay.
So like I like to say, like, was I running away from jobs or was I running to something? You know, that pattern that started at age 5. I'm sick of it. I'm running away, kind of pattern that I created. But that day something was different. I don't know what it was, but that traffic really got to me so strong that I remember I was clenching that steering wheel so tight and I started just screaming at the top of my lungs, why am I here? What's the purpose? I have no value. I have no reason to be on this planet. I have no purpose at all. Like, I don't understand why I'm here. And I was just yelling. And I, when I got to work that day, there was a Facebook post and it said, I'm a life coach. I took some time off. I'm getting back into it. And I'm looking for 5 women who want to change their lives. So again, there's that number 5 years old, 51, 5 women. And I immediately raised my hand and said, I don't know what a life coach is, but I want to change my life. And that was the start of it. So I embarked on that journey. That was 51. And that's when everything started to unfold.
Wow. So while you are learning to be a coach, you're also getting coached in personal development. It sounds like you didn't really have a whole lot of that going on.
I didn't have any personal development going on. And I wasn't a coach at all. No, I was a
Oh,
legal secretary working for a judge. And I was in the corporate world for 36 years. I was corporate minded. I'll say that because the entrepreneurial mindset that I have today is completely opposite from the corporate mindset that I had,
yeah.
10 years ago when I left corporate at age 51.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow. How exciting.
Yeah, it's been a
I can't
journey.
even imagine all of the breakthroughs you had.
And they were, the thing is, I'm a good student. And so every week when I would meet with my life coach, she would end up giving me something to do. And I called it my homework. And so she would give me a homework assignment and I was getting A pluses every week. And it was just really the A pluses were about personal development. These were challenges she gave me for me to break through. And boy, I had breakthrough after breakthrough. It got to the point that people were saying to me, you're so different this week than you were last week. Like it was outwardly recognizable, the shifts.
From week to week, month to month, that fast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I
When
had this
you,
burning desire. I didn't want to stay that person,
yeah, I
you
get that.
know.
Definitely. When you look back, what do you remember as being a really big breakthrough for you personally?
Mm, I would say, gosh, there's so many to choose from. The greatest one would be my decision to break through one fear every day for a year. Just
Mhm.
making that decision and then sticking with it because it was January 1st of 2015. I woke up that morning and I said to myself, like, I have so many fears, even after working with my life coach, I still had all these fears and they're stopping me from living my life. I'm going to break through one fear every day this year. It was just so random out of the blue. And I made a decision to do that, but I stuck with it. That was the biggest thing for me because I've broken every single New Year's resolution I've ever made, except that one. I didn't call it a New Year's resolution. I called it a New Year's revolution. So it was different.
I love that. Good for you.
Thank you. It's amazing.
Wow. So, what made you like, what was the story behind the one fear a day? Like, were you just sitting down at the table one day? Were you taking a shower? Were you talking to somebody? Were you just like by yourself in bed watching Netflix? Like, What was the trigger where you're like, I'm going to do one a day?
Yeah, it was literally just that morning I woke up and there it was in my head. Just
Wow.
it was completely random, out of the blue. I had worked with my life coach for 5 months prior to that, and every week having that transformation, and I stopped working with her at the end of November of 2014, and that was the when I stopped working with her, I stopped working my job also, and I jumped into entrepreneurship. So now I had December without this person in my life to coach me through the growth, but I had already learned a lot, and I was like, I'll just implement what she taught me.
Mhm.
And I wasn't implementing it as much as working with her because I didn't have that guidance, that coach to guide me. So 1 month by myself led to the thought that, wow, I'm not growing as fast as I was, and I want to keep growing. I think it's my fears that are stopping me.
Wow.
So let me just break through a fear every day for a year and keep growing. That was my kind of like my thought that was going on. And that's exactly what I had. Oh, talk about growth. It was exponential growth.
I bet. Did you have a list that you started, or was it just like every day, just whatever came to you? How did you do
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, I did not have a list. Like I wasn't that methodical about it, and I didn't journal any of it. I remember a lot of the fears, but I didn't journal any of it. And so what it looked like is every morning before I got up, got out of bed, is I'm laying in bed and I just ask myself three simple words, and that's what scares me.
Okay.
And then my commitment to myself was to, no matter what that fear was, to break through that fear that day because I couldn't stack them up. I had to break through it that day, no matter what it was. So I had no idea what was going to happen. Nothing was costly. I wasn't bungee jumping. It wasn't, jumping out of planes. It wasn't eating bugs. It wasn't like fear factor. My fears were so deep rooted in one fear. And I didn't realize this until about 6 months into it. As every day I'd been breaking through fears. 6 months into it, I asked myself, what's the common fear here? There's got to be one. And it was the fear of judgment, was the overarching fear that I had to look at somebody in the eyes, was a fear of judgment. What would they think of me? To talk to a stranger, what would they think of me? And mostly what would they think of me was my biggest fear. So I was then charged with for myself to break through fears that were related to the fear of judgment, so I could rid the fear of judgment for myself, so I could change my life. And that was the focus, and that's what ended up happening.
Wow. So what was one of the biggest one? Like what was one of the most memorable?
Yeah, yeah, memorable is actually a better word because they were all big to me, every single fear. So this is one thing I discovered during that year is that no matter how big or small our fears may seem to somebody else, they're big to us. So
Okay.
every single fear is a legitimate fear. So I would say my most challenging fear, I'll put it that way. My most challenging fears, I remember this day like it were yesterday. I woke up that morning and I asked myself my question, what scares me? And I'm laying in bed and I'm waiting for the answer. And the answer is exactly this: talk to a stranger in the Starbucks. That was my fear. So to some people, it'd be like, what's the big deal? But for me, this was debilitating. So I went to the Starbucks and in the very literal talked to a stranger in the Starbucks. So it had to be one stranger. It couldn't be a group of people. It had to be one person. So
Okay.
as I walked into Starbucks, if you've ever been there, you've probably seen, people are paired up and they're talking. So I'm walking in, I'm like, there is no stranger by, somebody by themselves. So I had to wait until somebody came in that was by themselves and sat down because I needed to have a conversation with them. So I agonized for 10 minutes while I'm standing in this Starbucks waiting for that victim, my fear victim.
Wow.
And there he walked in. He ordered his Starbucks and he sat down. So I walked over to him and I said, "Excuse me, sir. I'm breaking through a fear every day this year, and today's fear is to talk to a stranger in the Starbucks. Do you mind if I have a seat?" And he was like, "Okay." Kind of like, what a weirdo. But he said yes, and I sat down. We talked for maybe 2 or 3 minutes. That's it. And then I stood up. I thanked him for his time. I turned around and walked out, and I just about threw up. I was so sick to my
What did you,
stomach.
what was that? Do you remember? Like, do you talk about the day, work? Like,
I have no idea. I was in,
wow.
you know how you get in that, like in that blinder zone where everything is just black or red, or it's like, just, that was me. I was in a tunnel, and I don't think I don't remember what he looked like. I don't remember anything, just that I did it. I walked out of there, felt like throwing up, but I said, I did it. I did it. I was so proud of myself. I did that.
I love
You know,
that.
since then I've talked to many, many, many strangers.
Wow, I love that. How exciting. Do
It's
you still get that like, ooh, I'm talking to a stranger feeling, or is it now like not even an issue?
it's not even an issue now, and that's one thing I like to say is, like, with they call it the comfort zone, right? This is where we're comfortable. The comfort zone isn't always comfortable, but it's where we are comfortable.
Yeah.
And so what I realized is that every time I broke through a fear, it was like expanding the size of my comfort zone. So
Wow.
it got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger every day for 365 days. So imagine, we use this analogy of you blow up a balloon. The first time you blow up the balloon, it can be pretty hard. Your cheeks can get sore and you're blowing up that balloon. And then when you deflate it and blow it up the next time, it's a little bit easier. So that's how the comfort zone is. It's challenging, and then it grows, and then it goes back, and then it goes out and back. And each time it gets just a little bit bigger than that last time. And so doing that 365 days in a row, my comfort zone grew to be astronomical. And I like to say now, like, there's no top on my comfort zone there, because for me, being uncomfortable is my comfort zone now.
Wow. I freaking love that. What
Thank
a
you.
great analogy. Yes.
It's just, fear, it's just a word. I say it's just a word. It's a feeling, right? Something that we feel, like anxiety, nervousness. When we say I'm anxious, I'm nervous, I'm scared, all these phrases are things that, like, they're all the one thing, and it's all the same energy. It's all that same energy. So if we can flip our energy around fear. So for me now, it's like, oh, that's just fear. I'm going to do this because I'm scared, like the topic of today's conversation. Because what I realized is that 99% of the time, when you break through a fear, the result you get on the other side is that maybe you're proud of yourself. You met somebody you wouldn't have met. A door was opened that you didn't even know was closed. And that can lead to something amazing. And 99% of the time, it's going to be amazing. So if 99% of the time breaking through a fear is amazing, why are you depriving yourself of breaking through that fear? This is why you have to do it, because you're scared. Let your fear fuel you forward instead of fail you backwards. I'll share with you an acronym that I came up with that really is helpful for those, especially people who have faith. Is that fear is faith erases anxious reactions. Faith erases anxious reactions.
Good.
When our fear is strong, our faith is weak. So what we need to do is we need to tap into our faith so that our fear is weak. So
Wow.
how do we do this? Well, we have faith in ourselves. I can do this. I can do this. I got this. And then we go do it. Another is coaches, mentors, people who have done that before. They're already where we want to be. We reach out to them and say, I want to do this thing. I don't know what to do. Can you help me? Can you guide me? Reach out to them. We have faith in them because they've done it, that they can get us there. And then if those don't work, we've got our higher power. Like for me, I believe in God. And so with God's like, I tried this and that, it's not working. Maybe I should go to God first, but I want to try it on my own. And then I say, I need your help. And then I realized that I just need to go do it because I'm scared, because I want that result on the other side. I want that goodness. And I'll tell you what, every single thing you read in my bio started with that year of fears, every single thing.
Wow.
So it's been astronomical. Again, as I love that word, because you just can't really explain how amazing it's been. Becoming a book publisher, I was never a reader or a writer.
Wow.
I had no interest in becoming a book publisher, but I'm doing it, and I'm doing it so it's working out well. And just put it that way. It's been great.
Yeah.
I never wanted to be an executive producer of a movie, but the journey of breaking through fears led to those things because of the people that I made, the connections I made, because I'm no longer scared of talking to strangers.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. So powerful. Good for you.
Thank you. It's been just like I said, amazing. And I don't know what the future holds. And that's
Yeah.
exciting to me.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know that you talk a lot about, individuals that deal with fear, which I think we all do, but how to break through it every time. I know you have a system for that. Can you,
Yeah.
briefly kind of walk us through that?
Yeah, the 7 simple steps to break through fear every time. And so I'll share with you the steps. But before I go there, because you mentioned we all have fear. And I went on a quest, on a journey to find out, do we all have fear?
Okay.
So I started asking people who are extremely successful. I've been thrust into this environment where I'm surrounded by multimillionaires and billionaires. And so I started asking them if they had any fears. And every single one of them said yes. And I found it fascinating because their fears were just different than mine. My fear of talking to a stranger, speaking on a stage, being interviewed on a podcast, like all those were fears that I had. And their fears were nothing like that. So I'll give a great example. One gentleman, he's a world-renowned bariatric surgeon. And I asked him, do you have any fears? And he said, yes, I have a fear of insignificance. And here's a gentleman who is changing thousands and thousands of people's lives by giving them the bariatric surgery. And he's known worldwide, but he has this fear of insignificance.
Wow.
And then I asked this gentleman who has an IQ of 195, and they made a show about him called Scorpion. And this guy, so I asked him, do you have any fears? And he looked at me. He's very, he doesn't have many facial reactions, just put it that way.
Stoic.
Very solid. Stoic, that's the word. Thank you. Yeah. So he looked at me and he said, yes, I do have a fear. It's the fear of boredom. And I read between the lines. And what he was saying is, I'm bored of you. It's time for you to leave. And so I said, I get it. You're bored of me. You want me to leave. He said, pretty much. This is just a guy who, this is how he is. No big deal. I've known him for years. And so the point is that we do all have fears. They're just different. They're packaged differently. They look different. Something that scares me or terrifies me may be to you like, what's the big deal?
Totally. Yeah.
But our fears are our fears. And nobody should discount our fears. So let's go into the 7 simple steps to break through fear every time. And this worked for me. I did it for an entire year. By the end of the year, I no longer had to do this system. Actually, probably about 6 months into it, I didn't have to do this system anymore because I got it down pat now. So the 7 simple steps are simple. You say this phrase, like, let's say, give me an example. You said earlier today, we were talking about the topic of fear, when you were in your session. Can you give me an example of something that came up?
Ooh. Oh, girl. We were talking about sales. So
Okay,
we were
let's
talking about
use,
sales within a business.
okay, because sales is scary for a lot of people.
Yeah. So it was like they are scared to ask for the sale at the end.
Okay, perfect. I love this one because this is the one I use as an example a lot because it is big in the entrepreneurial world. So you do this simple thing. So let's say you're going to be getting on a sales call and you're a little bit nervous. And so maybe at the end, you never make an offer. So that's not a sales call. That's a conversation, right? That's a conversation.
Okay. Yeah.
So your goal is at the end of the call is to make an offer of some sort, any kind of offer, just making an offer. And so let's use the example of making an offer. So what you do is you think about, I'm getting ready to go on to that sales call. And you use this phrase, when I make the offer. So it's like when, oh my gosh, I forgot my own thing. Let me come back to that in just a second. So what happens is when we're experiencing fear, our brain goes into this like fight or flight mode. And we don't really know what we're doing. So we need to make ourselves consciously aware of what we're doing. We need to turn that nervous energy into reality, So here's what you say. You say, if I make an offer, so if I insert your fear, if I make an offer at the end of this call, will it adversely affect my life 1 year from today?
Ah, will it adversely? So
Adversely.
badly. Okay.
Exactly. So there's many key things that are happening in this one sentence. First of all, you have to ask that sentence and then you have to answer it. Because what's going to happen is if you say, if I make the offer, will it adversely affect my life 1 year from today? And that key word, it just like you mentioned, is adversely. Because if you say, will it affect my life 1 year from today? Yes, it can in a very positive way.
Yeah.
But what we want to know is, will it adversely affect your life? And so if the answer is no, obviously it's going to be no. If you don't make the offer, is it going to adversely affect your life in a year? No. So you've answered that question. So the next thing you do is you go down to 6 months and you say, if I make an offer at the end of this call today, will it adversely affect my life 6 months from today? Now, what we're doing is we're stepping down in time and we're asking the full question so our brain can process the full question and we can go from nervous energy to logic. That's what we want to do, is we want to move into our logical brain. We don't want to have the fear controlling us. We want to control our fear, have control over it. So the answer to that question would be no. So now we're going to step it down again and we're going to say, if I make an offer on this sales call, is going to adversely affect my life 1 month from today. 1 month. Again, we're just moving down the ladder in time so we can be realistic. And again, we have to ask the full question. You can't just say 1 month. You can't just say that. You have to actually ask the full question so your brain will answer the question. Anytime we ask a question or we're asked a question, we're looking for the answer.
Got it.
It's just natural for us as humans. So then we just step it down again. It's really just a step down process is all it is. That's why it's so simple. So if I ask for the sale at the end of this call, will it adversely affect my life 1 week from today? No, right? If I make an offer at the end of this call, will it adversely affect my life 1 day from today? So now we're on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th step. And then if I make an offer at the end of this call, will it adversely affect my life 1 hour from today? And then the very last one is, will it affect my life right now? Will it adversely affect my life right now? Now, if you get into in a week, it will adversely affect your life, then you might want to kind of think about it.
Okay.
But most likely, if you think, most of the fears that you have will not adversely affect your life in a week, the vast majority of them.
Yeah.
So again, this step down process brings you into logic. And in logic, we can make an educated, empowered decision.
Absolutely.
And this is why I say, do it because you're scared, because is an empowering word.
Ooh, okay.
Like, feel the fear and do it anyway. That's
Yeah.
disempowering.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's the 7 simple steps to break through fear every time. And has worked for me every single time without fail.
Gorgeous. So when you're feeling that come on, just ask yourself those simple 7 questions. And if the answer is basically no, all the way up until maybe right now, because you might feel a little sad, then then there's no reason to not do it.
Exactly. And then you say, oh, I'm going to do this because I'm scared. And then you go do it. Go do it.
Wow. That's great. I love the simplicity of that. I love things that you can just remember on a whim. You don't have to it's nothing that it has to be completely memorized. It's so easy. And I could see how that would immediately create calmness in someone's mind.
Yeah, it really does. Because again, we're moving into logic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Wow. Very, very cool. We have a ton of people watching live. Thank you so much for being here, for hanging out with us. I do want to say, obviously, we're getting a really good idea of, who you are as authority, the the knowledge that the value that you give to others. I'd love for you to speak a little bit more detailed on exactly what you do, because I know you speak on fear, but I know that you also work with authors. So tell
Mhm.
us a little bit more about exactly what you do and who should be reaching out to you. Who do you help?
Yeah, well, we publish stories. One thing I realized during that year of fears is that my story has power. The story that I'm sharing does have power and value. Because remember, when I first started the journey of personal development, it's like I have no purpose, I have no value, I have no reason to be here. Then when I started sharing my story, I found that it did have value. And I started sharing it in a collaboration book almost 10 years ago now. And it was through that collaboration book, by participating in that got my foot in the door. And that's how I become now a 38 times #1 international bestselling author. But it was through that first book. I had fear about sharing my story, but I did it because I was scared. And
Yeah.
so by sharing my story and getting it out there, I saw the impact not only on me, but I also saw the impact on those who read my story. And so I decided I wanted to do the same thing for other people, is to give them that opportunity to share their voice, to share their story, to get it out into the world, to make a greater impact on the planet. So as a book publisher, this is my thing. I just love stories. I love people telling stories and getting their stories out there, because it does impact, their lives and the people's lives around them. So ideally for us, like the people that we mostly work with are people who don't want to write a whole book. They want to just
Mhm.
write one chapter. They want to dip their toe in and
Okay.
see what it's like. They want to tell the story, but they don't want to do all the work. So we do everything after they've written their story, and we make it very, very easy for them to get their message out there and to help them to become a best-selling author. All of our authors to date are #1 international best-selling authors, and it's an exciting journey, because working with people, especially those who have never shared their story before, those are the ones I love seeing the path they take after they take that first step. Like those who are now, they're interviewed on all kinds of shows. They're now doing many books, and they're getting their story out there. They're participating in summits. They're doing so many different things that they wouldn't have done had they not taken that first step.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very awesome. Well, for those that want to follow you, for those that want to find out more information, where do you hang out on social media? What's your website?
Yeah, the website is actiontakerspublishing.com, as you can see on the screen there. And we're at Action Takers Publishing on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. We have a YouTube channel as well. We interview a lot of our authors on our YouTube channel, and we also provide information about writing and publishing a book. So you can find a lot of good stuff about books over there.
Beautiful. Fabulous. Well, this has been absolutely great. I so appreciate you being here. I know I took a ton of notes. This was great. I know those listening live and on the replay are thrilled with just the simple steps that you gave us today. As we start to close out, what are some closing thoughts?
Yeah, during that year, I came up with over 750 quotes, to help me to see like what I was dealing with, during that year. And one of my favorite ones is to be brave and share your weaknesses, for in your weaknesses, others see your strengths. If you're feeling anxiety, if there's something that you want to do and you're not sure what step to take, I want you to really think about how taking that step will transform your life in a positive way. Don't look
Mm,
at the what if, the negative, but look at the what if, the positive. What if I do succeed? What if I do great, have a great experience? What if I do meet somebody who leads me down a path that is going to be different, because it's the path you're really supposed to be going down? This is what
wow,
happened for me, and my entire life has changed because I've changed the narrative of how I speak, the words that come out of my mouth, and that has led to me meeting the people that have helped to lead me to where I am today.
wow. Fabulous. Fabulous. I love that. Thank you so much for
Thank
sharing.
you.
Thank you so much for being here. Incredibly inspirational. This brings us to an end of yet another incredible episode of Her Talk Show. Thank you, Lynda, for sharing your wisdom, for inspiring us, and for leading such a fearful life so that you could share it with us. I'm
Thank you.
sure that that was super scary. And now so many other individuals are able to benefit from you stepping into your fear. So what a way to pay it forward.
Thank you.
To our dedicated listeners, live or on the replay, thank you for staying with us into the very end here. Remember to follow, like, and share. Once again, I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. I invite you to join our amazing community, Her Nation, where we continue to uplift each other every step of the way by having conversations just like this one. The link to Her Nation is in the description below, wherever you are watching us at. The link to Lynda, actiontakerspublishing.com is also in the description below. Make sure you check that out. Until